You are listening to episode 126.2, our girls basketball scoreboard for Saturday's games in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties. With a full report on Oak Hill Frankton from the Action Sports Network's Grant Shouse.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Our gratitude is interminable. Today is December 22nd, 2024. It's a Sunday, so it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, coming to you today from headquarters in Jeffersonville, alongside producer Susie, who's not in the control room. She is cuddled up right next to me on the couch at headquarters.
That's right. I'm glad after about 2 weeks to finally have you back at home base and me out of the control room.
You were stuck there.
I was stuck in there.
You've been stuck there.
I was getting claustrophobic.
This, of course, is the girls basketball scoreboard for Saturday's results and highlights. But before we get to the highlights, we start with the scores. Oak Hill improved to 4-0 in the CIC with a 42-18 win over Frankton. We'll have a full report from the Action Sports Network's Grant Shouse on that one. Mississinawa beat rival Madison Grant 52-18. Hamilton Heights won for the third time in 4 games, 48-29 over Blackford. Eastbrook beat Blue River 49-27. Casey Warfel had a historic night in Pendleton Heights 48-46 win over North Central. Delta proved Michelle Garman and me both wrong with a 63-54 win over Greenfield Central. Muncie Central bounced back from Friday's heartbreaking loss for a 54-27 win over Union. Pike scored 34 points in the first quarter and beat Anderson 86-48. And Daleville won for the fourth time in 5 games, 74-18 over West Dell. A little bit outside of our coverage area, 4A number 12 Noblesville beat rival Westfield 53-51, and Class 2A number 3 Northeastern defeated Newcastle 67-27. We start our nightly highlights in Frankton, where Oak Hill beat the host Eagles 42-18 for a big CIC win. Grant Shouse called the game for the Action Sports Network. Here he is with a report. Grant, is there a better defense around than that one?
I mean, really, when I think about it, no. Oak Hill defensive basketball very well. They have Liz Godfrey 10 points a game. They have Landry Hardman 10 points a game on the offensive end, but their best defender, Landry Hardman, is just. She's the difference maker, and she's the reason that they win games because they have Landry Hardman, and the opposition does not. Their defense last night was really good. Frankton couldn't get a good look at the basket. They actually didn't shoot their first shot of the game until they took like a minute off the clock.
Wow.
Before they even got their first look at a shot. They got the ball in the opening tip. And so, it's fun to watch Oak Hill play. Believe it or not, it's a weird thing to me. I like kind of seeing defensive games a little bit, games that are like low scoring, games that end up being in the 40s or maybe low 50s, things like that. I kind of like those slow paced games, but last night was just so weird. It wasn't your normal slow paced game. Both teams couldn't shoot the ball to start. It was Oak Hill didn't get on the board. They didn't score their first points until about 2 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Wow.
And those came at the free throw line. Lydia Trexler hit a pair of free throws to tie the game at 2. Frankton, like I said, got their first look at a shot about a minute into the game, and they hit their first shot. It was about a about an 18 to 20 footer from Sophie Hoagland for Frankton. Hit the long two, make it 2-0. Both teams couldn't get anything to drop for about over 5 minutes of game time, it felt like. And Oak Hill finally got on the board. And then once Oak Hill, I think, settled in offensively, they ran away with it. Neither team had anybody in double figures. Oak Hill's leading scorer was Erica Newhouse with 9 points, and she is not a score first player. She is a
Right.
distributor.
The Oak Hill balance has been incredible.
Yeah, their balance of scoring last night was really good. I mean, they had 9 points from Newhouse. They had 7 from Hardman. They had 6 from Trexler. Morgan Cates off the bench had 4. Brianna Daly off the bench had 4. And so when you can click together like that as a unit and score the basketball like that from a variety of different players on the floor, then yeah, you're going to win a lot of games. Oak Hill has won the most amount of games now. They've won 12. They're 12-1. And I would expect them, if they're not already, to start being ranked. I mean, they're 12-1. They haven't lost. I mean, they have 1 loss.
Right.
And you look at the rest of their schedule, and this is no knock on any other team. And like I told you then,
Of course.
I don't want to be kind of the motivating factor for other teams because coaches hear it. But I look at the rest of Oak Hill's schedule, and I only see maybe 1 or 2 more losses on that schedule in the regular season.
Well, I'll
Marion's
just say it, Grant. I'll be surprised if Oak Hill or Alexandria loses before they play each other.
Oh, there's no question about it. Alexandria, I think, can win their count, or I think they can win the Madison County tournament. I think
If
they're kind
Pendleton
of
beat them, I wouldn't be shocked, but
right. And they're
other than
very well
that,
coached.
yeah,
Them and Oak Hill are very well coached.
that's right.
Carrie Barkham has, and she'll tell you, has improved so much as a coach over the last 3 years. And she has the experience. She was a player for Coach Steve Brooks at Indiana Wesleyan. She learned under him. He's a Hall of Fame level coach, and she played for him and worked with him and things like that. So they, that definitely helps her. That helps Oak Hill, I think, in the long run. But like I said, I look at the rest of their schedule. They only have maybe 1 or 2 more losses. And, the Marion game is a toss up. Marion, we've talked about it on here multiple times. They're long, they're athletic, they're tall, they're big. They're good. Marion is better than what their record depicts them.
Yes.
So I think they kind of have Oak Hill beating the athleticism size or the athleticism side of things. So that one will be interesting. That'll be a really good game. That'd be a game I'd like to see.
Yep.
And then the Alexandria game later on in the season, which will be at Oak Hill later in January. That one will be interesting too, because just due to the fact that Alexandria is number 1 and 2A, they haven't lost, correct?
Right.
So, and at that point, you could have Oak Hill with 1 loss. I think that'll be an eye opener for some folks.
Absolutely. And the thing that's interesting about that is both teams pressure defense. They probably match up very well with each other. Of course, Alexandria has the star, but Oak Hill can do a lot of things as a team. Alexandria does the same thing, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in that one.
Yeah, both teams are, like I said, they're well coached. They're process oriented. They're going to go out and do what they do and try and do it better than you. So, like you said, Alexandria has the star. They have Jacqueline Hosier, but Oak Hill has Landry Hartman. It's kind of like it's funny because it's kind of like last year in the NBA playoffs. Anthony Edwards for the Minnesota Timberwolves, he said, when they were getting ready to play the Phoenix Suns, he said, they got KD as in Kevin Durant, but we got Jaden McDaniels. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
So, Alexandria, yeah, they have Jacqueline Hosier, and she's great. She's a great player. She's going to Vermont for a reason. She's a Division I talent for a reason. Yep. But Oak Hill has Hardman, who can be a pest.
That's right.
She really can, and that's why she's out there on the floor. And she's not a huge scorer. She only averages about 9 points a game, but she's really, I think, one of the best on-ball defenders I've seen this year on the boys or the girls side of things.
Yeah. Hey, anybody stand out for Frankton? I know when you score 18 points, it's hard to have a real standout, but anybody stand out to you?
Um, the Curtis sisters really, they stood out. They're big inside. They were, you know, they hit a couple threes, and Curtis hit a couple threes. Um, it just it's cliche to say it, and it almost sounds, some people say this, because they don't know what they're talking about. But just to put it simple, last night was just not Frankton's night. It just wasn't.
Right.
They struggled. They couldn't hit shots. They couldn't get any good looks.
I think it was a bad matchup for their skill set is one thing that I would say.
A little bit, and they're a team. They have talent on that roster. They're not terrible.
Right.
They're really not. But last night,
they're probably
go
not
ahead.
24 points worse than Oak Hill, but because of the matchup issues, they were 24 points worse than Oak Hill on that night.
Yeah, and last night was a weird game to call because, anyone that was there will tell you there was no energy in the gym. It was a Saturday night. There was no atmosphere. There was no energy. There wasn't anything exciting happening. The game went quick. It started early. We tipped about 7 o'clock because it was the 2-quarter JV due to low numbers from both Frankton and Oak Hill. I think Frankton in the JV only had 6 available girls, and Oak Hill only had like 7 available girls. And everybody knows you got to put 5 out on the floor. So
Yeah.
that
And they're counting on some of those kids for varsity quarters too.
Oh yeah, exactly. And so it was a good move to go 2 quarters JV, and it kind of helps us. We get to start the game quicker, which is why we're there. We're only doing the varsity game, but like I said, the Curtis sisters stood out. They have, I like Dietzer for Frankton. She handles the ball well. They turn the ball over. We had them for 22 times unofficially, give or take. They turned the ball over. Oak Hill only turned it over about, I think, between 10 and 12. It wasn't a huge number, but and Oak Hill will take that. Any team will take that. 10 to 12 turnovers in a game, they'll take it. Like we talked about it the other night with Madison Grant, Anderson Prep. Like Madison Grant, yeah, they lost the game. They lost by 10, but at the same time, they lost the game, but they held on to the basketball. They only turned the ball over about 16 to 17 times. So as a coach, as Coach Martin, Coach Barkham, any coach in the state, they'll take that from their program.
It is the 8th straight win for Oak Hill, their longest winning streak since winning 10 in a row in 2019-20. They play in the Grant 4 on Saturday, January 4th. They open with 4-8 and defending champion Eastbrook in the second semifinal. That'll be about 11:45 a.m. After 4-7, Mississinawa takes on 3-10 Madison Grant. They happen to play each other last night, and that's coming up next. The consolation game will be played at 6:30. The championship will follow it. That's all on Saturday, January 4th. Frankton is 5-8. They're now 1-2 in the CIC. They go to 9-3 Kokomo on Friday, January 3rd. As aforementioned, Mississinawa beat Madison Grant 52-18 at Madison Grant. Mississinawa is now 4-7 overall, 2-1 in the CIC. They've won 3 of their last 5 games, and they go back to Madison Grant for the Grant 4 tournament for their next game. Madison Grant's 3-10 overall, 1-3 in the CIC. Hamilton Heights beat Blackford 48-29. It's the third win in the last 4 games for Hamilton Heights after they started their season 0-9. For Heights, they are at a tournament at Waldron. They have 2 games on Friday. They open with 8-3 Union County at noon in the second semifinal. After 4-7 Franklin County and host 5-7 Waldron play each other. The final round, both the consolation and the championship, will be played at 4 o'clock. I'm guessing not on the same floor, probably in different gyms.
That seems like a reasonable assumption.
Yeah. That would get a little hectic. Blackford is 1-12. That was their 11th straight loss. They host 8-3 Monroe Central on Monday. Eastbrook bounced back from their loss at Alexandria on Friday with a 49-27 win over Blue River Valley. Eastbrook is now 4-8 on the season. They outscored the Vikings 13-4 in the second quarter and led 27-11 at the half. Eastbrook is off until January 4th when they play Oak Hill in the opening round of the Grant 4 at 11:45 on Saturday. Seems like all I've talked about is the Grant 4 tournament. Speaking of which, we will have a preview of the Grant 4 tournament probably on Thursday, maybe on Friday morning. Kaser Werfel had herself a night. She scored 19 points, passed Susan Lester as the program's all-time leading scorer with 1,777 points, and Pendleton Heights' 48-46 win over North Central. Oh, she also blocked a three-point attempt by North Central's Ariana Harrington at the buzzer to clinch the win. Also for Pendleton, which is now 7-6, sophomore Ada Hupfer had 15 points and 13 rebounds. Pendleton forced 21 turnovers. They go to Yorktown for a big HHC contest on Monday. North Central's 1-10. They are really good 1-10 if they only lost by 2 points at Pendleton Heights. Sophomore Macy Loy had 13 points and junior Damari Gilbert 12. She also had 7 rebounds, according to the Herald Bulletin's George Brimmer. Delta picked up a big 63-54 Hoosier Heritage win at Greenfield Central. Both Michelle Garman and I picked Greenfield to win that one. Delta proved us wrong. They are now 9-4, having won 5 of their last 6 games. That is a program on the rise. They don't even have many seniors on that team, so definitely a program on the rise. They're just 3 wins away from their best season since 2012. They're off until Tuesday, January 7th, when they go to 1-12 Blackford. Greenfield Central is now 8-4 overall, 2-2 in the conference. Senior Cheney Brown had 23 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists for the Cougars. Muncie Central bounced back from Friday's heartbreaking loss to Anderson and is now 7-5 on the season after a 54-27 win over Union. The Bearcats host 11-1 Wapahani on Monday. Union is now 4-7. A night after getting its first win of the season, Anderson gave up 34 points in the first quarter to Pike and trailed 53-19 at halftime in an 86-28 defeat. Anderson is now 1-12. They go to the Whiteland tournament, which is 2 games on Friday. They start with 4-9 Whiteland at 10 a.m. And the other semifinal is 6-6 Tri-West and 12-1 and 10th ranked Bloomington South in the second semifinal. The consolation game is at 4. The championship is at 6. Pike is now 7-3. Sanaya Smith had 14 points, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Jaslyn Miller had 13 points and 3 steals. The Central Indiana Sports Report girls player of the night is Pendleton Heights senior Casey Warfel, who had 19 points, passing Susan Lester as the program's all-time leading scorer with 1,777 points. She also blocked a potential game-winning shot to seal the Arabians' 48-46 victory over North Central. And now you know everything we know about Central Indiana girls basketball. There are, of course, no predictions for Sunday since there are no games on Sunday. Our picks competition will begin right after Christmas on Friday. Michelle leads the competition 10-6, but it's early. She edged me 4-3 on Saturday. The game she got correct, Mississinawa beat Madison Grant by 34, way more than the 13 I predicted. I predicted Pendleton by 14 over North Central. Michelle said it would be closer. She was right. Pendleton won by 2. I predicted Hamilton Heights by 11. Michelle said it would be more, and they beat Blackford by 19. And she said Daleville would beat Westell by more than 41. They won by 56. The games I got right, or that she got incorrect, probably more appropriately. She said Frankton would play within 14 points of Oak Hill. Oak Hill beat Frankton by 24. She predicted that Eastbrook would beat Blue River by fewer than 16 points. The Panthers won by 22. I also predicted Greenfield would beat Delta by 5. She said it would be more. Instead, Delta shocked us both and beat the Cougars by 9. Well done, Eagles. Tune in on Christmas Eve morning for our girls basketball week in review. We'll have reviews for every program in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and Northern Hamilton, those counties. We'll also talk with several area coaches, reveal our top 10 power poll, name a player of the week, performance of the week, coach of the week, team of the week, and you'll get more of me. Thank you so much to Grant Shouse for his continual friendship and bringing you reports from area games. And thank you most of all to you for listening. Please go right now and like, subscribe, or follow us on whatever podcasting site you like so you don't miss a single segment. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We're also streaming on YouTube now. You can get it there as well. All you have to do is search Central Indiana Sports Report. We are growing really fast. We should be growing even faster. What would help would be if you would tell a friend. I know you've thought of somebody who would like the Central Indiana Sports Report. Go right now, copy this, paste it into a text, say, hey, listen to this. It's really good. Blah, blah, blah. You're going to love it. Best podcast in the history of the world. Things like that. Those are the things that you're going to say to them. And we will be forever in your debt.
Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Greg.
No, I love Susie.